Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Crossley. I'm a linguist at Vanderbilt University, and I'm going to be hosting you for this module on natural language processing. We're going to start by introducing tidy text, which is what we're going to be using throughout this module. Tidy text is basically an opportunity to use tidyverse, but with text data. So it's going to be based on R. If you are curious, we're going to be basing a lot of this module off of information found in Text Mining with R, a tidy approach, written by Julia Siege and David Robinson. And this is freely available online, so that was very generous of them. What you're going to need for this module is a working knowledge of R, and I can more or less lead you along the way. There are RMD files, which is what this HTML file is based on, that you can use to follow along and to run code on your own. So very briefly, this module is on natural language processing, but we're also just going to call this text analytics. And text analytics is basically deriving linguistic or language-based information from texts and using that kind of language-based information to examine research questions of interest to you, and in this case, to the educational analytics. It's also called things like text mining, natural language processing, or computational linguistics, more or less synonymous for most people. We're going to be talking about texts, and texts here can refer to things like websites, discussion posts, blogs, social media, emails, writing, reading text, student writing, books, speech transcriptions, you name it, thousands of different types of texts. The two types of text that we're going to be focusing on in this course are going to be forum posts made within a massive online open course, MOOC. And then we're going to be looking later on at sentiment as found in student evaluations of professors or teachers. So what does text analytics involve? You need to have text structured into appropriate formats. And what that generally means is that these texts need to be in something like UTF-8 encoding, so that they don't have any type of strange Unicode that are going to cause problems for text processing. Once you have your text structured, you need to derive language features from the text. We're going to talk about a couple of relatively simple language features in this module, including tokens, token frequency, and sentiment analysis. But the deriving of language features, that is the natural language processing part. And then once you have derived those linguistic features and you have counts for those linguistic features, you can then use those counts in statistical analyses or machine learning. And then once you have some type of model that's been developed out of your counts or some type of inferential statistics, then you can interpret the meaning of that. Hopefully you can use that to inform educational interventions or a better understanding of educational theories. There are a variety of different types of language features that are commonly assessed in text mining. These are things like part of speech, lexical information, properties of words, text cohesion, syntactic structures, semantics and meaning, which you find in things like word2vec, sentiment analysis, but we're going to focus on in this module, the uses of phrases and common phrases and how phrases can be used to understand cognition and language processing, topic modeling, so deriving topic out of large corpora of texts, extracting named entities, and looking at discourse structures. So that's it for a brief introduction to text analytics, and we will talk next about tidyverse and tidy text in specific.